Imagine having virtually limitless resources at your disposal.
Right.
I mean, we're talking literally billions of dollars just sitting in your accounts. What would you build?
Most people would say a sprawling mansion on a private island.
Exactly. Or a skyscraper with your name glowing at the very top.
Yeah. For a long time, those were the standard answers.
But what if the ultimate luxury today isn't a penthouse in the clouds, but a fortress hidden entirely out of sight?
Very deep beneath the earth.
Yes, buried.
Completely invisible.
It really represents a profound shift in how we perceive ultimate wealth. And security, too.
Totally. And that is exactly what we are getting into today. Billionaire bunkers and the doomsday architecture of survival.
And it is crucial to establish right up front that we are not discussing the plot of some dystopian novel here.
No, not at all.
This isn't science fiction. We are looking at a very tangible, physical reality.
It's a booming sector of architectural engineering.
It really is. We've got this massive stack of research today. We're talking architectural blueprints of decommissioned missile silos converted into private residences.
Interviews with high-end security contractors.
Yeah, and financial analyses of what is essentially sovereign wealth defense. It's wild.
It is.
So our mission today is to just embark on this massive breakdown of what doomsday architecture truly means in the real world.
We need to unpack the psychology of this level of preparation.
Right. The intersection of extreme wealth, absolute secrecy, and raw survivalism.
Because every single word in the phrase secret billionaire bunkers carries immense structural and psychological weight.
Let's start right there with the phrase itself.
Okay.
When we say billionaire bunkers, we have to immediately discard the standard imagery of emergency preparedness.
Well, absolutely. We aren't talking about having a go bag in your closet.
Or keeping an extra generator in the garage for a bad winter storm.
No. When you scale preparation up to the billionaire class, it transforms into an exercise in sovereign infrastructure.
Sovereign infrastructure. Let's unpack that, because that's a heavy term.
Well, it is the active anticipation of the collapse of the very systems that allowed that wealth to be generated in the first place.
Which is such a paradox when you think about it.
It is. When an individual transitions from standard preparedness to building a permanent subterranean fortress, the economic and logistical reality of their lives completely changes.
We see this in the financial records and the contractor statements from the research. The word bunker, it implies a complete severing of ties with municipal reality.
Yes, that severing of ties requires vast, almost unfathomable capital.
Because the true bunker is designed with the assumption that external help is never coming.
Never coming.
Yeah, right.
To build a structure capable of outlasting a global collapse,
Yeah.
I mean, you're pouring millions of cubic yards of industrial-grade concrete.
Millions.
It means installing off-grid power generation that does not rely on global supply chains for diesel or natural gas.
Which is normally how backup generators work. You still need the fuel delivery.
Exactly. But here, we are looking at fully equipped medical bays, advanced biometric security measures, and long-term subterranean food production capabilities.
Hydroponics and all that.
Right. That level of independence cannot be financed through traditional means. It requires massive, highly liquid capital.
And it completely upends our traditional understanding of a status symbol.
It really does.
Because for decades, extreme wealth was incredibly loud.
Highly visible.
Yeah, it was the mega yacht moored in Monaco, the fleet of private jets, the sprawling estates that everyone could see from the highway.
The implicit purpose of having that kind of money was showing society that you had it.
Right. But now we are seeing the ultimate flex of wealth transition from the hypervisible to the entirely invisible.
Hidden from the world.
It's a total 180.
And that transition speaks volumes about how the ultra-wealthy are currently assessing global stability.
How so?
Well, when society is perceived as stable and robust, wealth is displayed as a marker of success within that hierarchy.
Sure. You buy the Rolex, you buy the Ferrari.
Right. But when the perception of society shifts to one of extreme fragility, whether due to climate concerns, political instability, or the threat of systemic grid failure, visibility instantly becomes a massive liability.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
A mega yacht is a wonderful luxury. But the moment ports stop functioning and fuel supply chains break down, it ceases to be a luxury.
It becomes a very large, very visible target.
Exactly. A yacht needs a crew. It needs a dock.
It is completely, inextricably dependent on a functioning civilization to maintain its status.
Yes. So when we analyze these subterranean projects, they function much more like historical castles and fortresses.
I love this analogy from the research.
It's so fitting. Think back to the monarchies of the Middle Ages.
Right, they built these towering stone walls, dug massive moats, and created regional strongholds.
Because they understood their wealth and power were constantly under threat from siege.
The castle was basically an architectural manifestation of their need to protect their resources from external forces.
The defensive mechanisms have evolved today, but the underlying psychology is remarkably similar.
The modern billionaire bunker is a technological fortress designed to withstand a societal siege.
Instead of heavy stone and archers, the blueprints show blast doors, electromagnetic pulse shielding, and independent biospheres.
EMP shielding, that's intense.
It is. However, the castle analogy works perfectly for defense, but it fundamentally shifts when we consider longevity and logistics.
Because a medieval castle still relied on the surrounding serfs and the local agricultural ecosystem for food.
Exactly. A siege was a waiting game. The attacking army was trying to starve the castle out.
They just camped outside until the food ran out.
Right. But these modern bunkers are attempting to sever that tie entirely.
They have to be both the castle and the agricultural village, all contained within a single buried footprint.
They're trying to conquer time.
Conquer time. That is a heavy way to put it.
The builders of these structures are attempting to outlast not just a localized siege, but a planetary one.
It is an attempt to create a completely closed thermodynamic loop, which, as any engineer will tell you, is an absolute nightmare.
It really is.
Another way the research frames this is through the lens of an insurance policy.
This is a great perspective.
For you listening right now, an insurance policy is a digital contract.
Right.
It promises financial reimbursement if your car is in an accident or your roof is damaged in a storm.
You pay a premium, and you trust that the massive corporate entity on the other end will honor that contract.
But traditional insurance relies entirely on the legal, financial, and judicial frameworks of a stable society.
It requires a functioning banking sector to process the payout.
And a functioning construction sector to use that payout to actually rebuild your roof.
Exactly. But for the demographic we are discussing, a digital contract promising fiat currency is utterly useless if the banking system no longer exists.
If the power grid is down for a year, an insurance payout means nothing. You can't eat digital dollars.
No. So their ultimate insurance policy isn't a contract. It is poured concrete.
It is underground air filtration systems.
It is physical, tangible infrastructure. They are self-insuring against the end of the world.
Self-insuring against the apocalypse. It's just wild to think about.
It is the ultimate systemic hedge. It requires looking at the world with a deep, almost fatalistic sense of pessimism regarding our collective future.
Paired with an extreme, almost hubristic optimism regarding one's own ability to engineer a technological solution.
Beautifully put.
Yeah.
But to achieve that solution, we have to look at the logistics of the secrecy involved.
Yes, Section 2, the secret. In secret billionaire bunkers.
The logistics of that secrecy are fascinating because they present a massive operational paradox.
How do you build something this massive and secret?
You really can't.
Right. If you are constructing a subterranean fortress capable of housing dozens of people for a decade, you have to execute massive architectural engineering.
You are moving thousands of tons of earth.
You have heavy machinery, daily deliveries of specialized equipment, and teams of construction workers.
You cannot simply hide a fleet of excavators and 50 cement trucks.
People are going to notice. Your neighbors are going to notice.
Exactly. You can't make the construction invisible, so the secrecy relies entirely on obfuscating its true purpose.
Misdirection.
Yes. It requires a level of operational security that rivals military intelligence.
And the research outlines how they do this primarily through aggressive legal maneuvering and physical compartmentalization.
The financial analyses outline exactly how they hide the purpose. They use nested shell companies.
Essentially creating a Russian nesting doll of LLCs.
Right. So say a billionaire wants to buy a massive plot of land in Kansas.
They don't buy it in their own name.
Never. The land is purchased by a holding company registered in Delaware.
Which is owned by a blind trust in Wyoming.
Exactly. That Delaware company then hires a specialized agricultural development firm.
And that firm files construction permits for a very mundane surface structure.
They might permit a large agricultural storage facility, an industrial data center, or an expansive private wellness retreat.
Private wellness retreat is a good one.
It explains the high-end materials. This provides a legal, public-facing reason for the massive earth-moving equipment and the endless procession of concrete trucks.
So from the road, it just looks like a new server farm is being built.
Or a grain silo.
But the physical construction is where the compartmentalization gets truly extreme.
This is the fascinating part. The contractors hired to do the initial excavation might be completely different from the teams hired to pour the foundation.
And those teams are separated entirely from the specialists brought in later to install the biometric blast doors and the life support systems.
No single worker on the ground actually understands the full scope of what they are building.
A concrete crew just knows they are pouring an unusually thick, reinforced foundation for what they've been told is a climate-controlled wine cellar.
Right. And the HVAC specialists are told they are installing heavy-duty air vents and positive pressure systems for a high-end recording studio.
Or a clean room for electronics manufacturing.
Exactly. There's a great detail in one of the contractor interviews that perfectly highlights the absurdity of this process.
Oh, the bowling alley story. I was hoping we'd get to this.
It's incredible. A high-end contractor was hired to install a $50,000 professional-grade bowling alley.
Just a normal luxury request, right?
Right. It was only when they were routing the ball return mechanism through feet of reinforced press-proof concrete that they realized something was off.
They weren't building a basement entertainment room.
No. They were putting a bowling lane inside an apocalypse bunker.
It perfectly captures the strange intersection of preparing for the end of the world, but making sure you can still bowl a few frames while it happens.
It highlights the desire to bring the comforts of the surface world into the subterranean one.
But everyone involved in that construction, from the architect to the person installing the bowling alley, is bound by incredibly strict non-disclosure agreements.
NDAs with massive financial penalties attached.
This raises the critical question, though. Why go to such extreme, expensive lengths to keep it a secret?
If you have the capital to build an architectural marvel, why hide it?
Right. The research indicates that if a true societal collapse occurs, a real prolonged doomsday scenario, the greatest immediate threat to a prepared individual isn't the initiating event.
It's not the solar flare, the cyber attack on the grid, or the economic crash.
No. The greatest threat is the unprepared population.
Yes. If supply chains fail and people are starving and desperate and they realize there is a fully stocked, climate-controlled, illuminated bunker a few miles down the road,
Those blast doors are going to be tested.
severely tested. Secrecy is not a preference here. It is the primary and most crucial layer of defense.
If the surrounding population doesn't know the facility exists, they cannot organize to breach it.
Out of fright, out of mind.
But man, that realization carries an immense psychological weight.
It does.
The understanding that the society you participate in, the people in your surrounding zip code, instantly transform into your greatest adversaries the moment the municipal systems fail.
If you are building a secret refuge, you are making a profound, calculated decision years before any disaster strikes.
You are inherently deciding who is allowed inside.
And by direct extension, who is going to be locked out to fend for themselves.
It forces the builder into a position of having to ruthlessly determine the value of the human lives around them.
Do you secure a spot for your extended family,
What about your personal assistant who manages your life?
your pilot,
Yeah,
the medical professionals you will absolutely need to keep you healthy underground?
because you can't just call a doctor if things go wrong.
No. But every single person you bring into that environment requires a massive increase in resources
More space, more food, more water.
and exponentially more complex life support systems.
Yeah.
Every person you exclude is someone you have consciously decided to leave behind.
Let's explore the reality of that for a moment for the listener. Imagine you have the resources and you have quietly spent the last 5 years building a perfectly self-sustaining, impenetrable bunker beneath a sprawling ranch. It is fully stocked. It is ready. Who do you tell?
Do you tell your closest friends?
If you tell your best friend, you have to assume they will eventually tell their spouse.
And their spouse will tell their children.
Suddenly, your secret is out and your operational security is entirely compromised.
But if you maintain absolute operational security and tell no one,
You are sitting across from those same friends at dinner parties, knowing that if the grid permanently fails tomorrow, you are going to disappear into the earth.
and leave them to whatever chaos unfolds on the surface.
That dilemma, the strict requirements of operational security versus fundamental human connection, it really highlights the profound isolation that comes with this level of preparation.
To be truly secure, you must be entirely isolated.
And that isolation isn't just social, it is deeply embedded in the very physical structure of these bunkers.
Which brings us to the architecture itself.
Yes, a granular breakdown of Doomsday architecture. When we look at the blueprints in these sources, we see a complete rejection of normal design principles.
Traditional architecture is generally optimistic.
Optimistic. How so?
Well, it's designed around the concept of balance and harmony with the environment. You design a home to let natural light into a room
To create a seamless flow between living spaces.
and to integrate the building with its surroundings. You want large windows that look out onto a landscape.
You want fresh air circulating through the hallways.
Exactly. Traditional architecture assumes a benign or at least a manageable outside world.
Doomsday architecture completely inverts every single one of those principles.
Completely. It is brutally, unapologetically utilitarian.
In this realm, form strictly and entirely follows the function of survival.
There is no room for aesthetic indulgence if it compromises structural integrity.
A window is not a source of natural light. A window is a massive structural vulnerability.
A door is not a welcoming entryway. It is a potential breach point that requires biometric locks and reinforced steel.
It is taking the concept of a human habitat and turning it inside out.
Instead of bringing the outside in, the entire architectural goal is to keep the outside completely, totally, and permanently out.
And the systems required to define this architecture are incredibly complex because they require complete isolation from external infrastructure.
Take water, for example.
Right. In a normal house, your water comes from a municipal pipe.
In a bunker, you can't rely on that. You need deep, protected artesian wells.
But even a well isn't a permanent guarantee. Aquifers can dry up or become contaminated.
So the architectural schematics show a heavy reliance on closed-loop water systems.
Closed loop, meaning you reuse what you have.
Yes, we are talking about utilizing multi-stage reverse osmosis paired with UVC sterilization.
They have to use these advanced systems, similar to what is used on the International Space Station, because standard municipal filtration relies on massive amounts of chemical treatments.
Like chlorine.
Right, which degrade over time and require a supply chain to replenish.
And a closed-loop system means aggressive recycling.
Gray water.
Gray water, the runoff from washing your hands, doing laundry, or taking a shower, must be captured, treated, and repurposed.
Often for agricultural use in underground hydroponic gardens.
But it goes further than that.
Black water.
Yes, black water, the actual sewage, must be managed and processed internally without relying on external sewage treatment plants.
The psychological disgust factor of recycling waste into usable water is significant.
It is, but it is an absolute necessity when you are severed from the municipal grid.
You can't just flush it away. There is no away.
Precisely, and the air systems are even more intense.
If you are trapped underground and the atmosphere above is compromised by radiation, biological agents, or severe environmental degradation, you cannot just open a vent.
No. The blueprints show massive, industrial-grade scrubbers designed to remove carbon dioxide from the internal air.
Because you're constantly exhaling CO2. In a sealed box, that builds up and becomes lethal.
They utilize overpressure systems, or positive pressure.
Explain how that works.
The HVAC systems are designed so that the air pressure inside the bunker is slightly higher than the air pressure outside.
Okay.
This means that if there is a microscopic leak in the seal of a blast door, the air is constantly pushing outward.
Preventing any external contaminants, fallout, or pathogens from seeping inside.
Exactly. It is the exact same engineering principle used in Level 4 biohazard labs.
It makes the design of these bunkers much more akin to a deep-sea submarine or spacecraft than a traditional house.
The very apt comparison.
When you are in a submarine thousands of feet below the ocean surface, the environment outside is actively trying to crush you.
The water is immediately lethal.
A submarine is a highly engineered, pressurized vessel designed to keep a fragile human crew alive in a completely hostile, unlivable environment.
A doomsday bunker is effectively a stationary submarine buried in the dirt.
That is such a vivid image, a stationary submarine.
Both a spacecraft and a deep-sea submarine operate on the principle of a sealed biosphere.
Every exhalation is mathematically calculated.
Every drop of condensation is captured and managed.
But there is a massive psychological toll to that kind of architecture.
Oh, massive. When you strip away natural light, when you eliminate the horizon entirely.
When the only sound you hear for months on end is the persistent hum of the machinery keeping you alive.
The architecture itself becomes a pressure cooker.
And the irony of it all is staggering.
How so?
Well, To survive a hypothetical destruction of the natural world, whether that is severe climate collapse, nuclear fallout, or a global pandemic, one must build a completely artificial mechanical world underground.
Yeah,
You are essentially severing your connection to nature in order to survive nature's wrath.
you are hiding from the Earth, inside the Earth.
It is the ultimate expression of human engineering attempting to conquer biological reality.
It is. But the engineering and the architecture alone aren't enough to explain this phenomenon.
No, we have to dive deeply into the mindset that drives someone to initiate this kind of massive, capital-intensive project in the first place.
We need to explore the psychology of this specific brand of preparation.
The psychology is fascinating because this isn't a weekend hobby.
Not at all.
Initiating a sovereign infrastructure project requires a comprehensive mindset and a total lifestyle choice driven by the profound anticipation of extreme catastrophe.
It requires a fundamental, deeply held belief that the current systems governing our society are incredibly fragile.
And if we look objectively at modern civilization through the lens of these financial and security analyses,
It is highly fragile.
it really is.
We rely entirely on hyper-optimized, just-in-time supply chains.
Just-in-time logistics.
Yeah.
That basically means warehouses don't store months of extra inventory anymore.
Exactly. The food in your local grocery store is usually only enough to last a few days if the distribution trucks stop arriving.
A few days.
Yes, our global financial systems are entirely digital and interdependent.
Our power grids are aging, highly centralized, and vulnerable to both cyber attacks and severe physical weather events.
When you or I flip a light switch, we are blindly trusting an incredibly complex, precarious web of infrastructure that spans the globe.
We just assume it will work today because it worked yesterday.
We don't even think about it.
But the preparation mentality, particularly among those with immense resources, is a calculated rejection of that blind trust.
It is an analysis that concludes these interconnected systems are destined to fail, either gradually through compounding crises or suddenly through a singular event.
Therefore, relying on those systems for personal survival is deemed an unacceptable risk.
So fundamentally, it is about control.
Control.
Yes. When you accumulate billions of dollars, you become accustomed to controlling your environment.
You fly private to avoid the friction and chaos of commercial airports.
You hire private security to avoid relying on local law enforcement response times.
Wealth is utilized as a tool to insulate oneself from risk and inconvenience.
But the collapse of societal infrastructure is the ultimate uncontrollable variable.
You cannot bribe a global pandemic.
You cannot buy your way out of a localized power grid failure that cascades across an entire continent.
By building a fortified, self-sustaining bunker, the builder is attempting to assert financial and engineering control over that ultimate uncontrollable variable.
They are attempting to create a microscopic sovereign nation.
A nation of one family.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Where they dictate the rules, control the resources, and guarantee their own security, regardless of what happens outside their reinforced doors.
And that scales exactly with the wealth. It is about legacy preservation.
It is not just about surviving a bad year. It is about ensuring that their specific family line, their curated art collections, their genetic and cultural legacy continues, even if modern civilization ends.
It is remarkably similar to a pharaoh building a pyramid.
Yes, but instead of preparing a monument for the afterlife, they are engineering a time capsule to outlive the present world.
And crucially, it is a time capsule that they themselves intend to occupy and command.
A time capsule they intend to occupy. That perfectly encapsulates the sheer ambition and the deep existential dread embedded in this architecture.
We have covered an incredible amount of ground today.
We really have.
We started by examining the shift from visible wealth to invisible sovereign infrastructure.
We navigated the massive logistical paradoxes of maintaining secrecy through nested shell companies and compartmentalized construction.
We explored the heavy psychological burden of deciding who makes it inside the blast doors.
We analyzed the brutal, utilitarian reality of doomsday architecture.
Looking at the closed-loop water systems and overpressure air scrubbers that turn these structures into stationary submarines.
And we unpacked the psychology behind all of this.
The deep-seated need to buy certainty and assert absolute control over the inherent fragility of our interconnected global systems.
It's a lot to take in.
It is. As we wrap up this conceptual breakdown, I want you to reflect on your own daily life.
Think about your reliance on modern systems.
When you turn on your tap and expect clean water.
When you buy groceries.
When you charge your phone.
When you analyze the reality of those with virtually limitless resources, quietly, secretly preparing for the absolute worst-case scenario, how does it alter your perspective?
Does it make you view the society you navigate every day as perilously fragile?
Or perhaps, in its own chaotic, interconnected way, remarkably resilient?
It is a question that challenges our most basic assumptions about community, safety, and our reliance on one another.
It really does.
And I want to leave you with one final provocative thought to mull over.
Okay.
We have spent this entire time analyzing the incredible mechanics and logistics of surviving inside these secret doomsday structures. But if the ultimate goal is to outlast a total societal collapse, what happens the day after?
That is the real question.
Let's assume the systems work perfectly.
Let's say you successfully outlive the end of the world, sealed safely inside a multi-million-dollar concrete box,
When the hydroponic food eventually runs out in 10 years,
or when the air scrubbers finally fail.
and you are forced to open those biometric blast doors and step outside.
What kind of world are you actually surviving for?
If society, culture, and community are gone, what does human existence actually mean in the aftermath?
It's a haunting thought.
It is. Until next time, keep questioning everything.